I want to talk to you this morning about how to pivot your career with confidence and strategy. So, if you are thinking about trying to make a change in your career, if you have already started that process, this is going to be the live stream for you. And I wanted to talk about this because I know that we're still in like the freshness of this year, and I know that this can have you at a point to where you're wanting to think about your career and like what's next for you, and if you want to make a shift, what that shift looks like for you. So I want to be able this morning to share with you some tips and strategies so you can make sure with this career change that you want, that it is something that you are doing with intention. Because if you know me, if you follow any of my past content, if you have worked with me before, you know I'm all about you being strategic and you being intentional about this thing, right? Because this is not just a job. This is something that you give so much time to. And I think it's important for you to understand and to have a purpose behind everything that you do. Okay, so first thing is this. I want you to understand that when it comes to you thinking about changing careers, if you're thinking about wanting to make a shift, that is not a one size fits all, and that there are different kinds of shifts. And I don't think people understand that, right? That, when you're thinking about changing careers, it can look so many different ways. And if you are starting to feel an itch that, hey, I think I want something new, is important for you to understand, like, what is the shift that you really want, right? Because depending on the shift that you want, it really depends on like what strategies you need to use to make sure that you are successful, right? If you want to change the field that you are in, that is what I call an overall industry shift, right? Meaning that you like your role, right? But you just want to change the field that you are in right now. And signs that you may feel with that is that you may feel a disconnect with the value or the trends of the field that you are in now, right? The next shift is what I call a role shift. It means that you want to stay in the same field, but you want to switch what role you are in. And so that comes from maybe you want something that just brings you a little bit more challenge, right? And then also there is another shift called the skill-based shift, right? Which is again where you want to use the same skills that you have, right? Or you want to like use those core skills in a way that it feels more aligned. And so like that's what I call that skill-based shifts. And there's so many more. There is a function shift, meaning that you just want to change the functional area of your work. So for instance, if you were in sales, you may want to move over to the product management side of it. So you still operate with the same service, right? But it's just like you want to change the function of your work. And then I have a lot of clients who I work with, they are looking for more of a mission shift, meaning that they want to be able to be in spaces and align their work with their true mission. So, that's more about that's a live stream in itself. But I think it's really important to understand like what is the shift that you want. And so let me ask this question. Out of all of those shifts that I just named, which one do you think that you are at right now? I talked about a skill-based shift. I talked about a role shift. If you just want to change the field that you're in now, right? So I think it's important to get clear on what is the itch, right? What is it that you are really seeking for, especially you guys. And I know a lot of times with the people that I attract, it's not just work for you, right? It means that you really, really want to be able to impact with the skills that you have. And so you just hopping up and saying that I want something new, and you're not really clear on what that new looks like, you can find yourself going in the same way over and over again and not really clear on why you're not getting the results that you think that you should. And so I want you to even get clear on, if I am looking for something else, what is that itch that I need? Because I talk about it all the time that, when you're in the wrong environment, you can feel like you are in the wrong field. And it's not about you having to change, what you do. It's more about you needing to change who you work for. And so, I've seen people that have like thrown away. When I say thrown away, meaning like they don't want anything to even do with their field anymore because of the work environments that they have had to work in. And it has changed their overall concept of the field. And it's like, no, like it's not your field. It's the environment that you serve in. And so and then even with that, if you are in a workspace to maybe you can't operate at the capacity that you really want to, I want you to even get clear on what's the problem here. Is it because you feel like you don't have the space to share your ideas and your thoughts? Is it because who you work for, they're not as progressive as you are? Like starting to get clear on that, because we don't have time to keep on making the same mistakes. I say that, mistakes over and over again. But it's important for you to get clear on, this is what I want and this is why. I know you guys hear it all the time about, it's important for you to understand what your why is. You have to know that, because if you don't know that, you will automatically feed off of or lean on somebody else's why. And you will never feel that level of fulfillment if you're operating off of somebody else's why and not yours. So the first thing that I want to talk about, the first thing is, it's so important to identify when is the right time to pivot. I'm going to say it again. You have to be able to know when is the right time to make that change. And, I say this because I know that when you get the urge for something new, it can be easy to just react towards that feeling and not really respond, right? And when you get to a point in your career where you're a season, you have the results, you have the successes, it's about responding to how you feel and not reacting. And that's why I was saying, get clear on what is that itch for change? What is that urge? Get clear on that, right? And then, I tell people that if you are looking to do something new, that is a process. That's not something that you just hop up and do. Meaning, sometimes you find yourself at work, you're like, oh, child, I need something else. You already on Indeed scrolling. Friend, what you scrolling for? Why? You're not clear. All you know is that you want something else. And in the job market that we are in now, y'all, it's competitive, right? And I say that because there is so much competition out there. That alone can be a little overwhelming. That alone, if you don't know how to control your thoughts, can get you discouraged. So when you add in a really competitive job space on top of you are not being clear on what you want, friend, you will frustrate yourself. You won't experience the success that you want to experience. And what happens with that is that when you're out there looking for a job and you're not clear, you have no plan, you have no strategy, and you don't get the results that you want, you'll start feeling like it's not for me. You'll start feeling like this isn't the right time. You'll start feeling like I have no other options than the one that I am in now. And that's not true, right? The fact of it is that you just hopped on out there out of frustration and not out of intention. You got to be intentional, because you being clear and you having a level of strategy and being clear on what you want is going to remove about 50% of the stress, 50% of the stress that already comes with job searching. Because the reality is, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. All these other career coaches that want to teach you how to do everything with ease, being in a job search is work. It doesn't matter how clear your job search strategy is. It still comes with a level of stress. And stress isn't always a bad thing. It's us not knowing how to manage the stress, right? But it is a level of stress, right? It's not fun to have to, go out and talk to people and apply for jobs, right? That's not fun. It is stressful. And so why not try to eliminate as much stress as you can by getting clear on what you want. And I know it's the easy thing to just hop up and just start to just hit apply, right? But just because something is easy does not mean that it is good for you. Just because something is easy does not mean that it is good for you. And you are worth the work of it. You are worth the time it takes to sit down and think about where you are in life and where it is that you want to be. You are worth the time that it takes to either invest in yourself, to either sit back and look back on your past experiences and deep dive. You are worth that, right? So when you're thinking about, what is next for you, I don't want you to be like, oh, I have to do all of this. No. Right? First of all, the mind shift to make is that I get to do all of this. Meaning, right? I have reached a place in my career where I have built something that I'm not starting from scratch, that I do have options, that I don't have to just, put all my energy into having to pursue the things that I can get. But now I'm in a place where I can sit down and think about what it is that I really want. And so identify when is it time to make the pivot, right? Look back and see, okay, I'm starting to feel that feeling of stuck. I felt that feeling of stuck for a while. That feeling of stuck is not a bad thing. It is simply just a alarm sound that is saying, it's time for better. It's time for more. So lean into that and get clear on what is it that sound or that feeling is telling you. Because sometimes the shift you need is a pace shift. You enjoy the work that you do. You enjoy the field that you are in. But I enjoy it, but I'm not getting the level of accomplishment or fulfillment that I need because I know that I'm not being paid at the level that I should be. Sometimes you simply need a pace shift because you feel like I'm giving and I'm giving and I'm giving, but the math ain't mathing. It's my results, my pay, Sometimes it's like the income does not matches the impact. And so again, but you have to know that. And even with my clients, this is something that I sit down with them and work through, because when you get to a level in your career, especially if you have been in a very toxic environment, if you have been in an environment to where you have not gotten the respect or the pay or just the things that you need, and you have a lot of unmet expectations, friend, that comes with a lot of emotions. Because for one, you are having to deal with the thoughts of self-doubt, this feeling of, is it me or is it them? Am I asking for too much? Am I asking for, am I not asking for enough? Is my expectations too high? And then you start feeling, okay, like all this work that I've done, has this work, like you really start thinking, okay, did this even mean anything? Girl, you find yourself be like, should I have even went to college? You didn't graduated 15 years ago. But the current state of your career has you backtracking that far to be like, child, I don't know why I was even in school. When the reality is, friend, school is over with. That's done. But when you're at that point in your career to where you look, something's not right, it brings up a lot of emotions. And sometimes you have to, you need somebody else to work through those emotions with you. So you know that you are not making an emotional move, but you are making a strategic move. So if you are in that space where you child, this is a lot. And what happens for most people, not all, but for most people, when you start feeling all of that stuff, your brain goes into a mode to protect you. And that is where that feeling of fear comes in. You you know what? I'm done. So you shut all the way down and you suppress those feelings of, I want more. I'm ready for what's next. And you allow that fear to override all that. And what happens is you be like, child, I started to feel like this 2 years ago. And so, but you need to be able to work through that and to be sure that you're not operating out of what will keep you safe, but you will move towards what's going to unlock your full potential. And when I say what feels safe, meaning what you know. because in your brain, right, in your brain, you know, it's trained to keep us safe. That's what fear is. Fear is an actual chemical that is released in your brain when you do anything new, when you do anything outside of what you always do. And that fear is like, girl, hold on, stop. Because it's like, this is new. But you don't realize in order to unlock your full potential, it's on the other side of new. It's on the other side of that. And so just know that when you feel that fear, first of all, be happy because you're like, child, if this fear is here, this means that I'm getting ready to do something new, which means that I will experience growth. I will experience new skills. Get excited, but also know that as you move past that fear and you just take the action, that fear is going to shrink. Why? Because it's no longer a new thing. Right? Now you have allowed yourself to explore opportunities that you once have not before. Now, first of all, like I was saying, make sure that you understand when is the time, because there are some roles and some jobs that's just for you to grow and go. Grow and go, meaning I'm here to learn some skills. I'm here to either grow my pay and then I'm gone. And you have to be able to stop getting so emotionally attached to these jobs. Times have changed, my love, my friends. Times have changed. I know that our parents said, girl, go find that job and stay there for 30 years and retire. But my friend, this is 2024. We have inflation. We have bills that are higher than what our parents paid, right? And honestly, you know, the people that they work for, they're not as loyal to us as they were to our parents. That's just not the way the world works anymore. So I need you to stop being so emotionally tied to these jobs and understand what is the expectation. Sometimes you are in a job to grow and go, to learn and earn, and then you move on to what's better for you. But you cannot cap, right, how much you make because you feel like, oh, I've put so much in here. You serving in the role, you are serving in your career, but the question is your career serving you, right? And understand that a job is not your career. Your career is made up of a series of jobs, and that job is only a means for you to solve a problem with your skill set. So then you are paid for that problem that you solve, and that should be allowing you to live the life that you want, right? Your career is not summed up in one job, right? So I need you to not get so emotionally connected to these jobs. Don't tie your worth in with these jobs because it's just not safe, right? You cannot place your worth on anything that you do not control because it's so frail, it's so fragile, right? These people can change their mind about you in a moment. Right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is I want to talk about being able to assess opportunities and risk. Right. Because I know that anytime you are thinking about wanting to do something new in your career, you like, child, what happens if I do something else and it's worse? That is a legitimate fear and risk. Right. You know, it's like, I just don't. You know, I've been here for a while. I have stake. You know, you start going through all of this in your mind. And I tell people, and I say this all the time, the question is not when, but the question is, what is it costing you to stay at the current state that you are in now? Again, you have to be able to assess not only the risk, but the opportunities, right? And you have to be able to weigh out if the risk, if it exceeds the opportunity of this. So it's not a win. It's a what and a why. Meaning, you know, not when I should think about this next move or when I should make this next move, but it's like, hey, what is it going to cost me if I don't? And why? What is my why behind all of this? And so I'm all about taking calculated risks. Do I think that you ought to hop up and just do anything and not even think about the risk because all you can do is just manifest it? Won't get into that. No, right? I definitely think that you should look at the risk. But I don't think that you should be afraid to take a calculated risk. Meaning I've sat down and I've thought about the risk and I've planned for them. And the reality is, y'all, there is no way to know all of the risk that's involved. But I say this today and I say it all the time, right? You are worth the risk. You have risked so much more on so much less. I don't know about you, but I've risked a lot on less. So when you're thinking about the risk of what could be involved in this, it's just thinking about, okay, what is the cost of me not doing this? Is it costing you money? Is it costing you time with your family or the people that you love? Is it costing you the impact that you want to make? Is it stopping you from not being able to just get the right health in your mind or in your emotions? Because sometimes these jobs be causing too much stress, right? So start thinking about, okay, if I look back in a year and I'm still here, how would that make me feel? And so now with that kind of mindset, you're able to really assess, okay, is this move as urgent as I think it is? Right? So again, it's kind of like what I was saying before, being able to give yourself the time to think about that. Give yourself the opportunity to really sit back and be like, let me really think this through. The next strategy to make sure that you can make this next move with confidence is I need you guys to start, and I really wanted to start off with this because I've been seeing some posts this week on LinkedIn. I just be like, y'all, sometimes I be wanna, but no, don't do it. Don't. I want to talk about being able to have a personal brand. You need one. And so there was some post on LinkedIn, I think it was either like last week or this week, that was talking about, I don't feel like I should have to post content for a job. I don't feel like I should have to have a brand just so I can get a job. First of all, posting content is not what having a brand is. And this is what happens when people don't have the understanding of what a brand is. Number two, having a brand is not something that you create so you can be famous. It doesn't work like that, right? And having a brand, even if you don't want this to be true, right? It is going to make you being able to advance in your career and attract opportunities faster. And it is going to attract the right opportunities because you have people that they get opportunities, right? But the opportunities are not even things that they want. That lets me know that the way that you show up, the way that you express the value that you have doesn't align with your goals, right? And when you think about brand, all a brand is, y'all, is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Or what do they think when they hear your name, when they see your page on LinkedIn, when you apply for a job, that application, that is a part of your brand. That's all that a brand is. All right. It allows you to control the value or the perception of the value that you bring. Right. And so if you are not putting in the intention and the strategy of having a brand, it's like you allow other people to assume what they feel about the value that you bring. In your workplace, you ought to be thinking about, what is my brand here, right? What is the perception of the value with the people that I work with, right? When they think about the value or the actual impact that I make here, what do they think about? So it's not just I'm at work and I am doing a great job, but it's about you being intentional about how you are perceived. And when I say perceive, it's not a people pleasing. No, it's about you having control over your growth, over your advancement, and over the opportunities that you get. That's it. But people have reduced the brand, because I know that since 2020, 2021, we have seen people post a lot of content. We have seen people be a lot more vocal with their thoughts. We have seen people like that is establishing their thought leadership more, which is cool, which that is a aspect of branding, but that's not the overall point of having a personal brand, right? And as quiet as it's kept, and even though it's not fair, us who look like us, who look like me, you need to be even the more intentional about your brand. Because unfortunately, we do face a lot of stereotypes in the workplace that a lot of people don't. And so with the brand, you take more control over where your growth goes. And with a brand, you are not just trying to sit back and wait for opportunities to kind of fall in your lap. And you don't sit back and just wait for, oh, I hope they see the value that I bring. A brand is like, look, this is the actual value that I bring, and these are the opportunities that I want, and this is the respect that I want, and these are the areas of my expertise that you should be focusing on, right? So even if you love your job right now, friend, I'm happy for you, but you need a brand in your workplace. Because if not, you will be blending in with everybody else. And so also when you don't have a brand, all you are left with is a reputation. Meaning is just like, and when I say that, having a brand and having a reputation is not the same. Brand is something that is intentional. A reputation is just what people think of you. Now, in some cases, it could be true or not. But think about, do you want to be able to, you control the overall narrative. And of course, as you advance in your career, that brand is going to shift. But some of y'all want to make 150K a year, but your brand is only giving 75. And it's not saying that you can't make it, but you have not positioned yourself for it, right? The way that you talk about your value and your expertise is not putting you in a place to attract those kind of opportunities. And I say this because my mentorship is opening up next week. Okay. So if you want first dibs on a special rate, contact me. Okay. Because with having a brand is one of the main things that we talk about in the group because it's so important. You got to be able to see that times are changing. You have to be able to adapt and understand that those that adapt, those are the ones that will be successful. And it can't be like, oh, I got to do all this work just to get a job, just to grow and succeed. And don't see it as work, but see it as, right? This is what I need to do in order to secure the success that I want. Again, going back to understanding that you are worth the work, right? Because sometimes we find ourselves, we will put so much effort and work into everybody else. But when it comes to ourselves, we're like, oh, I don't have the time. Oh, that's just too much. But you don't realize that the more you serve yourself, the more you can serve the people around you. Okay. The next thing, right, that I want to talk about is being able to leverage what you already have. Being able to leverage the skills that you already have. Because regardless of what position or what is that next shift for you, right? You're not starting over. It doesn't matter what that next move looks like for you or what is the change. You're not starting over, but you need to know how to build on what you've already done. And you need to know how to go through your past experiences and your past work and be able to know, okay, out of all of this, what is it that I am leading with in this next move? Because what happens is that people try to use everything, right? That's why I don't really believe in like the one size fits all resume approach, right? Because what happens is that when you lead with everything, it's hard for them to imagine you for that or this or for something because you are trying to lead with everything. And when I talk to people and they are thinking about their next move, and I'm like, okay, so like, what do you think is next for you? And they say things like, well, I'm just kind of open. First of all, you are open to being lowballed, right? Because when you don't know your value or what is your worth, when I say worth, I'm talking about worth in that job space or in that field, that's what happens, right? And then you are also opening up yourself to being frustrated, right? Because you are not clear towards what it is that you want. And if there's no clear strategy, then that's how you don't see results. And so I need you to think about, like, what are those core skills that you're really wanting to lean on, right? What are those soft skills of yours that you know that set you apart? I had a event last night that I had to speak on, and in the event they were talking about like AI and different things like that, and they asked me my thoughts on it, and they were asking me like, okay, so like, with work and things of that sort, like how do you think that will like kind of change everything? And I said, well, of course, we know that it will take some jobs, absolutely, right? But we also know that it will bring new jobs. But I said that anybody out there, anybody, what you need to be thinking about as far as like your skill set is investing in your leadership skills and in your soft skills, because AI can't take that away. It can't. Like those skills that makes you human, when I say human, meaning that those skills that allow you to tap into more people based, AI can't take that away. So don't focus on these hard skills, right? But I do think it's important for you to be well versed in your field and understand and know what are the skills that you even need to be investing in. Because I see a lot of people investing in skills that will be obsolete within the next few years. Again, being intentional, being clear, being strategic, not just thinking about what sets you up for right now, but thinking about long-term success. Don't just go online and find these classes to take, right? And sometimes, not saying that this stuff is bad, but sometimes make sure that you have gotten clear on, is this even skills that I even need, or am I using these online classes to validate me? Because people will do that. They feel like I got to get more and I have to get more. And it's not that they really even need more. They have more than enough. But you feel like if I can just add on this, then I'll be enough. But my friend, my love, that cycle never ends, because once you get done with that class, you start feeling like you need this other class rather than validate what you've already done, right? Or rather than putting the focus where it should be, which is your people skills, your soft skills, your leadership skills, because those are the real skills that causes you to stand out at work. Those are the real skills that you need, because we are in a competitive market. You can easily find 1,000 people applying to one position, and I can guarantee you that there are people that have either the same amount of experience or even more. What happens? Y'all know, look, I get passionate about this. What happens when you get down, right? There was a job that you applied for. 1,000 people applied for that job. You get down to the final stage of the interview. They picked you two, right? Out of 998 people, it's down to you two. Obviously, my love, you got the experience. You made it that far. Your experience is without question, is without doubt. What do you think is going to set you apart from the other person? Soft skills. You ain't got to agree. What do you think is going to set you apart from the other person? Soft skills. But nobody's focusing on that. Nobody's focusing on that. Even in my group, I'm teaching them, like, these are the skills you need to be working on. Because again, it's not a lot of these hard skills, and it's not to cause fear, right? And it's not to say that all skills is just like all hard skills are bad. No, what I'm saying is, when you want to stay competitive, when you want competitive pay, when you want very competitive opportunities, you got to stop wasting time building up skill sets that don't mean nothing. Build up the skill sets that's going to set you apart. And those are the skills that you need the most as you advance. People skills, leadership skills, soft skills. And let me talk a little bit about leadership skills. I was just texting my friend this morning about this. And so, I was telling her, I was like, well, are you wanting to move into like lead roles? She's like, no, I don't want to deal with a team. I feel like, I was like, girl, we've been friends for too long for you to even think that, having those skills is only about leading a team. Leadership is not just leading a team. If you do lead a team, right, that is what we call people leaders. But there are different components of that go beyond you just leading a team. Sometimes you can lead a department and it doesn't even involve you having to lead a team. Sometimes you lead strategies. Sometimes you have to lead initiatives, right? So it's not just about, oh, I don't want to lead a team. So beyond that. And when people say that, I know that you don't have the full understanding of what leadership skills is, right? There are people that I know, right? Or right, even when I worked full time, and even with the clients I work with, they don't even hold a official leadership title, but they hold the influence of one, right? They hold I hate to say power because people have had such a bad taste with folks in those kind of roles. But what I mean is that they hold the influence of a leader without even having the title, right? Because they have built up those skills. So, my friend, I want to free you. Okay. If you think that having a leadership position is just about a team, no, it goes deeper than that. And it does start with self leadership. So, I want you to even start to think about self awareness. I talk about this all the time, right? So, you have to start to get clear on what is it that I really need? Because, child, you don't have time to waste. We have one life. Right? So I don't want y'all spending money or time in these classes trying to build up stuff that you don't, first of all, stuff that you're not even sure that you need. And second of all, that is not going to move the needle for you. That is not going to move your paycheck for you. Right? And so one of the things, like I was saying, is that, man, invest in leadership skills, invest in those soft skills, because when things get super competitive, that's what's going to count. When you are in a workplace that is noisy, that's what's going to count. Emotional intelligence, right? And that is what makes you a double threat. When you have the expertise, but you also have the emotional intelligence. And child, it ain't many out there, okay? It's not many out there that got both, right? But put yourself in a position to where you are a double threat, my friend, and you got both. You got expertise and you got emotional intelligence. E and E. I'm glad that you find these gems. I'm so glad. I am so glad, right? E and E, my friend. E and E. The expertise and the emotional intelligence, because this is what happens when you get to a point in your career where you feel like you're just hitting that glass ceiling. You're like, girl, everywhere I go, I just can't seem to, because you probably got the expertise, but you're lacking the emotional intelligence. And y'all, and when I say that, what I mean is you understand yourself, meaning you are self-aware, and you understand how the people around you perceive you. That's what I mean. And I think it's just so important, especially as you move up. And you will not believe, you being able to develop these skills is not just going to improve your career, my child. This is going to improve your life. It will improve your marriage, how you deal with your kids, how you deal with your friends. How you deal with yourself. You know, I always say this is not about you being a better employee. This is about you being a better you, being the best you. That's the name of my group, the best you. Building yourself up so you can thrive in all areas of life. I don't want you spending all your time just trying to be great at work and not be great in life. We don't do that over here. Over here, we are about holistic success. We are about, at work, I feel good. And when I go home, I'm going to feel good. Because I believe that you can lead, earn, and live well. Absolutely. And you should be, right? So even in my group, we touch on all of these things: mindset, skill set, personal branding, emotional intelligence, right? I even have a section in my group where I talk about spiritual development. And I was just saying to somebody, I said, I don't push that part of my group because I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to push off any of my beliefs on anyone, right? But for me, I want to thrive in all areas. So I even have a section in there that talks about spiritual development. Because as you grow in all of these areas and as all of these areas align, that's when you unlock your full potential. It's not about unlocking workplace potential. It's not just about that. It's about you being able to get into a place, right, where you're thriving and you feel good about what you do. And you can be that leader that you know that you can be, operating in full confidence. And when those little mind tricks or those little beliefs try to, discourage you, because they will come, you have the tools, you have the frameworks to fight against these things, right? So you need to be able to understand that you are building, and you need to be able to leverage what you have. You really need to be able to leverage what you have. You're not starting over, you are building. And I talk about all the time. And I feel like I gotta say this because I want this drilled in your mind. I want this like stamped on your forehead, right? That when you are building something, you don't have time to prove anything. And this is what happens when you find yourself at work having to feel like, I got to prove myself. I have to prove myself. And that's because you have taken your focus off of building, because you cannot build and prove at the same time. You just can't. You cannot build and prove at the same time. And so think about what you are building towards, not what you are trying to prove your way into. Child, go back and look at your receipts. Go back and look at the environments that you have operated in when you had the bare minimum. You had, friend, no resources, and you still operated in excellence. Look at the times, right, when it seemed like everything around you was crashing and you still came out on top. What else is there to prove? I don't know. Right? Like, what else is there to prove? Nothing. So the focus needs now to be on, I need to be building. Because just think about it. If you were able to create excellence, if you were able to exceed expectations, right? If you were able to outperform in the, I want to say worst environments, but for some people, the worst environments. If you brought forth great things out of nothing, think about the impact, the money, the full potential that can be unlocked when you are in environments that respect you, that pay you well, and that cater to your strengths, child. Think about how things will change for you operating in those kind of environments. And like it'll be a whole different way of thinking. At that point in your mind, you'd be like, child, I thought I was asking for too much, but really I wasn't asking for enough. Right? Because like once you know what good feel like, once you know what right feels like, once you know what alignment feels like, you just can't go back. Nope. You be like, I will never. And it's like, and it brings a level of like compassion and grace. And, and I really do believe that it extends the level of servitude, because it's like when you like pick yourself up, right? And this doesn't mean that you were just like down in the utter depths of hell, but I mean, like when you get to that place to where you unlock your full potential, for some people, especially the clients that I work with, it births something in them to now they want to be able to help people like do the same thing in whatever way that looks like, because you understand what it was back there, right? It's important to understand that like once you get in that place to where you start operating, chef's kiss. It doesn't mean that it won't come with its struggles, right? Because some things in life is gonna be hard. right? But just because something's hard doesn't mean that there's something wrong, right? There are some things that are going to be hard. Some, I didn't say all, because I will backdoor and say in that same breath that don't train yourself, that, that's the only way that you see something as successful is if you had to struggle. I don't believe that either. I don't believe that everything has to be a struggle, but I do believe there's a difference between something being a struggle and something being hard. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? When something is hard, it just means like, man, like this is more weight than what I'm used to. Like meaning this is starting to require me to do or be more. In most cases, it's requiring me to be more than what I've had to. So in that moment with you having to not do, but be the person that you need to be in order to reach that level of success, there is a moment, there is a season of, man, this is hard. But that's just because you're just building yourself up to that, right? But a struggle is when you like, child, I don't see no way out. When you feel like there is no hope in this. When you feel like I'm in this thing all alone. Mm-mm, mm-mm. And I had to break myself from that feeling like the only way that I could feel like this goal or whatever was successful was because I like really had to press my. But it's like, Alicia, you struggled because you didn't want to ask for help. You struggled through this for so long because you felt like you could do it all. You struggled with this goal for so long, right? Because you didn't understand the power of community, of asking for help, right? Or having the right conversations. So start thinking about this for yourself and thinking about whatever that next move is for you. If you want to completely change careers, if you want to ask for a raise, if you want to advance in the role that you're in now, if you are wanting to go to a more mission based, right? Meaning I'm ready to find a workspace that is aligned with the mission that I have, whatever that is, right? Just be sure that you're clear. Just be sure that you don't find yourself in a cycle of going through the same thing over and over again. That's my thing. Just be clear. 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 Because it takes that in the time that we're in now. You know what? I told somebody, or I think it was a video on TikTok I made something. I said, 2023 was hard because it was hard for me, right? And I couldn't even really think about y'all anything extra traumatic that happened to me. Like, I went through some things last year. Of course, everybody doesn't like, but it wasn't anything that made me be like, it was just heavy. It was heavy. I'm talking about, it was a lot of like spiritual warfare from me last year. So, me being in this year, right? I am coming into this year a lot more clear, with a lot more intention, right? With a lot more prayer. And so, you know, and I say that because there are times when we go through hard things, and, I believe that things are here to, I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. I believe that things are here to just make us stronger. I really believe that, right? And, even myself, it's a mindset shift that I had to take and say, okay, it's not what happened to me. It's just what happened for me, right? But there are some things that you go through. There are certain seasons that leaves residues. There are some things that can leave a residue, meaning that it's over, right? It's not something that you have to deal with anymore, but it changed some beliefs in you, right? It changed the way that you perceived you, or you even perceive the folks around you, that you may even have perceived your career, your job. It changed you. And the change is supposed to be for the better. But there are some times when it doesn't quite work that way, where things that we may have to experience, it does kind of taint us a little bit, especially being in corporate America, child, the ghetto. It can put a bad taste in your mouth, right? It can almost leave you like, man, like I started my career with a vision and a passion and a drive, but I see that like slowly going away. But I really believe that, with that, I think it's important again to like sit down and think about like you overall, and even the career that you have, and say, okay, am I this way because this is who I really desire to be? Or am I this way because I feel like this is like, or am I this way because I feel like I have to be this way in order to just survive this? I know that was a word for somebody. Like, am I really being the person that I really want to be? Or am I being the person that I feel I have to be? Two different mindsets, two completely different perspectives. It's two different lives, right? And I think it's so important to think about that, because that's going to show you what you have been operating out of. And for a lot of us, and I say a lot of us, because baby, I'm talking with you, not to you. Like God had to do some things in me, right? But for a lot of us, it's like we just, you find yourself operating out of survival mode. And let me break this hard truth to you. You could be making six figures a year, 180 grand a year, 200, 300K, and still be operating out of survival mode. So do not think that when we talk about survival mode, that's automatically like somebody that is just living check to check. No, ma'am. Being in survival mode is not about funds or lack of it. That can be a part of it. But survival mode is when you again have started to operate out of, this is who I have to be. These are the moves, these are the moves that I have to make in order to just get through this life. That's survival mode. So no, there are celebrities making tons of money operating out of survival mode. Meaning that it's not about what it is, what that means, like it's not about what you want. It's about what you feel like I have to do. And child, let me tell you something. Y'all feel like I'm about to start preach. Now, y'all know sometimes on my lives, I can get a little deep, okay? But that's just because, again, I know, y'all, this thing with your career is so much deeper than what you think. That's why I said, if your desire is to land your dream job in 30 days, baby, I'm not the coach for you. Because it's not about a dream job. It's about a dream life, okay? And though, yes, I can help you get an amazing job. Ask some of the clients. I've worked with clients. They have gotten increases up to $85,000, right? So I know how to get you the bag, but I don't want you just after that, because I've also had clients who have come to me making 150, 160, over 200 grand a year and are miserable, right? I've had the VP come to me and can't effectively lead her team because she's so insecure. So cool. It's just so much more than that. And so when I talk about operating out of survival mode, my friend, I'm just saying to evaluate, how did we get here, right? And all the moves that you have made up until this point, what has that been out of? Has that been out of purpose? Has that been out of panic? Has that been out of stress? Has that been out of frustration? Has those moves been out of, I need validation, right? And again, I'm not trying to get too deep with y'all. I'm not. But again, I'm concerned about the whole you. Because I know we like to feel like, oh, I just wear so many different hats. My friend, all them hats go on the same head. My friend, them hats go on the same head. I don't even like to even use that. Oh, you just wear all these hats. Baby, this hat's on the same head, which is on the same neck, which is connected to the same body that has the same heart and the same mind. So don't even think that you are like, don't even think that you have the capacity to shut off different parts of your life. You don't. Because I've been there I've been sitting at my desk having to work on things in my full-time job back then, or even now as me owning my own business. I've had to operate right in my work, but life was all in here, and that affected me. That affected how I showed up. So don't confuse yourself thinking that you can shut off different parts of you, right? You can keep them quiet for a moment, but understand what is happening in one area is going to affect all the other areas, because that's just the way that we were designed. God did not design us to act like robots. Robots can be unplugged. And my friend, that ain't you. So even when you act like you are okay at work, I promise you that is affecting how you show up. Even when things at home are not good, my friend. Like your children can feel that. Your spouse can feel that. Trust me, I've been there. I've been there. I've been there. I have been there. And that's why it's so important to align all of these other areas. I don't believe in work-life balance. My friend, you ain't no scale. Because I don't like the belief that because you have to give something more, than the other side of that has to lack. But I don't even like the term of a scale. You ain't no look. It needs to be alignment. It's not balance. It is alignment. I was on a call with clients that I work with. Excuse me, and and I was sitting there, and I said, look, if you could explain like your dream life slash dream job, like I said, what would that look like? And she started saying, oh, like she believed that she could do, like she started laying it out for me perfectly. And at the end, I asked her, do you believe you can have it all? And she looked at me in my eye and said, no, I don't believe I can have it all. And I asked her, I said, why? And she was just like, because, we've been taught that in order to obtain a level of success, that it comes with you having to really sacrifice a lot of things. And I said, I do believe that there is some sacrifices involved. Absolutely. But I said, if you have to sacrifice the things and the people that you love, you know, in order to get success, is it really success? Right. And so as we like lean more into that, and I said, if you don't believe that you can have it all, I said, what are we here for? I wasn't rude about it, right? Because it's almost like, why would you invest? Why would you spend time building something that you don't even think that you can have? Or there's some doubts there, right? And I say all this to say, which is why I believe in alignment. Because if you see you trying to balance everything, then yes, you will start to feel like, you know, that I can't give this because this is what I have. But when you're talking about alignment, what you're talking about is everything is having like everything serves everything. Like everything is linked. Like everything feeds off of each thing. And I think this is important. And after I say this, I'm done. I think this is important because when you understand the different seasons of life, right? And when you understand the concept of having to sow and having to reap, I promise I'm not trying to preach. Y'all know I love the Bible, okay? But I'm not trying to preach here. But when you understand the concept of there is a season to sow and reap, you understand that you have to put yourself in a position to where to where you're able to feed these different areas of your life, right? Because there will be times at work when you may have to focus and lean in more than you would, right? That's a reality, right? And so you may not be able to be as engaged at home as you have been, right? Because just for a season, I said season, a season, your focus is here. Not your whole focus, but there is a little bit more extra focus on this part. But your home life is not going to suffer. Why? Because you have been feeding it all along, right? This whole time you have been feeding that part of your life, right? But this is what happens when you start to get in your mind the idea of a scale. I'm now, right? I'm now having to pour all of me over here, right? So this lacks. But when you operate in alignment, you understand, right? And you have set the proper boundaries and the proper priorities in your life to feed all of these, right? And in the moments where one side of it may needs more of you, this side isn't starved because you know I've been feeding you. And that is what your career should do. It should allow you to operate in alignment. Again, I believe in hard work, which is why I said it'll be seasons to where you may have to give more in your career, but it's just for a small season. But in your life, it may be seasons where you may have to deal with a sick child, or you may have to give your mind towards that more. But your career is going to be fine. Why? Because you've been feeding it. And so that is the concept that I believe in. I do believe that you can have it all. I do. It takes focus. It takes you having intention. It takes you being able to ask for help. But yeah, but it is impossible to think that, you can have it all when you keep thinking, how am I able to give my whole self to everything? And I don't think that you should be trying to give your whole self to everything. I think you should give each part of your life what it needs from you. And in most cases, it does not need all of you. You have trained yourself to give it all of you. A lot of times it's because you need to be validated or seen as valuable. And this can happen not just in your work, but at home. Overextending yourself because you feel like I gotta do this, or you find yourself having to overcompensate because you haven't been there so much. But when you learn that, okay, I'm not called to give all of me to everything, right? Because if you're giving everything to everything, what you gonna do for you? Right? Where does that leave you? What you do is you create boundaries in the workplace, in the home, with your friends, with everywhere, to where I can still serve you in a way that I can still best serve myself. I'm done. Because I can literally go on and on about this, guys. I really can. You guys tell, like, I'm really, 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 really passionate about this. Like, I'm very because it's like when you just see a lot of things happening, you understand that, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, most people go this way, right? Because it's one of those things that you just kind of do what you do, or it's like what you've seen done. But like, once you know better, you better be doing better. Just a quick recap. I know I kind of went a little deep on you on the end. When you are thinking about being able to think about what's next, if you wanting to make a pivot in your career, know these 4 things. First of all, I want you to identify when is the right time for a pivot. 2, you need to assess the risk and the opportunities. 3, you need to focus on your personal brand. And 4, you really need to be thinking about what are the skills that you can leverage in this next move. So y'all, if this was valuable, share this with a friend. I know that we all know one friend who needed this. also, if you want to work with me one-to-one, let's chat, right? But if you just want accountability, support, right? If you want a way to get started, a way so you can get clear and be intentional about your career and even your life. Like I said, my group is the doors opens next week, right? This is a coaching slash mentorship style. Okay. So if you want more information on the best you, hit me up because I will have a special price for action takers. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I definitely enjoyed talking with you this morning. I pray that you guys have a blessed rest of the day, and I will talk with you soon. Bye.